order to show.
All right, everybody, we're going to open the meeting. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you please remain standing for a moment of silence for our 2,996 fellow Americans that passed away on September 11, 2001. Thank you very much. Good evening, and welcome to the September 11th, 2023 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA. First, let me introduce the members of the ZBA present here this evening. Myself, Chairman Alan Donnelly, Vice Chairman Mr. Carl Hanger. Our Secretary Janet LaForgia is out this evening. Regular member Commissioner Lisa Temple, who will be filling in as our secretary this evening. Regular member Commissioner Naheed Kaiser. Alternate member Commissioner Mr. Larry Rushmeyer is here with us this evening. Alternate member Commissioner Mr. Richard Briggs is here with us this evening. And alternate member Commissioner Mr. Elijah Hewling is with us this evening. Our zoning enforcement officer, Mr. Fran Lally, is with us this evening. And our very excellent and also wonderful recording secretary, Cassandra Varian, is with us this evening. The current agenda can be found here at the table or on the town website under board meetings. When we begin the public hearing, I will call each applicant one at a time. When I call a property address, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and tell us about your appeal in detail. After, the secretary will read into the record any communications we received in favor or opposed to the application. The chair will then entertain questions of clarification from board members concerning the application. We will then hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the application, followed by those who are opposed. Following each side of the question, the applicant will be allowed to make concluding remarks. After we've gone through all the cases on the agenda tonight, we will close the public portion of the meeting and will deliberate in open executive session. You must have at least 4 affirmative votes to have your appeal granted. The final decision may be in the form of approved as submitted, approved with stipulations, or disapproved. All questions and comments must be directed through the chair. Please be assured that everyone will be given the opportunity to speak. However, the board is most interested in hearing factual information relative to the application. In the view of time constraints placed upon us, we ask your indulgence in not reiterating comments previously presented. You are welcome to stay until the end of the meeting or contact the land use office in the morning. Thank you very much. Okay. First thing on the agenda, we have a regular member out, Secretary LaForgia. So, Commissioner Hewling, will you please be on Z-23-46, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Briggs, will you please be on Z-23-49, sir?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Rushmeyer, will you please be on Z-23-50, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay. The Vice Chairman was out last meeting, so...
Yes, I wasn't here last meeting, so I don't want to vote on the minutes. I do have a couple clarifications from when I read through it. I want to suggest amending them, but I don't feel comfortable voting since I wasn't here to actually witness it.
Commissioner Hewlin, you like to sit on the minutes?
Sure.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'll take a motion, get the minutes, to approve the August 7th, 2023 minutes, please.
Second. First, second.
Second.
First, second.
Thank you very much. Is there discussion? Go ahead, Ms. Vice Chairman.
Yeah, so the first thing is that I saw just a small, probably autocorrect error on lines 71 and 86, where topography is written as typography. It's the topography of the land, not the typography of
Okay, that's 71.
penmanship.
And where was the other one?
71 and 86 are the two I noticed. It's probably just, like I said, autocorrect error, but
Typography.
Good catch.
That's a good catch.
And then one more thing I saw when I was looking at the votes for approval on line 168, it said that Z-23-43 failed in a vote of 3-2, but the ayes and nays show 4-1.
You caught what
So
I was gonna
I don't
catch.
know
Yeah,
if
I
it
was gonna amend that one myself.
Yeah, I don't know what the correct thing was because I wasn't here, but it's
Okay, I've got that
definitely,
one. Does anybody else have that? I'm gonna go over that in 2 seconds, thanks, go ahead. Anybody else have anything? Okay. I have a few things, including that one you just found. So I'd like to correct the typography on 71 and 86.
Yeah.
Okay, to topography, please. On line 97/98, I didn't see the hardships on there. The hardships were the topography and the well. I'd like to please add them. And then on line 25, I didn't see this in here, but I thought it was important, so I'd like to add, this is on line 25. Chairman Donnelly suggested a possible alternate location on the north side of the house, thus not needing the front yard variance at all. Chairman Donnelly also pointed out that the hardships on the property were the unique shape of property, wetlands, and septic. I'd like to add that if I could, please.
I'm sorry, did you say
125?
It's on 125.
124, 125.
Yeah, you said 25.
Oh, sorry, 124, 125, thank you. Okay, now, the one that the vice chairman found, on line 170, this is how I saw the vote on there. There were 3 ayes, and it was not myself. The 3 ayes were Secretary LaForgia, Commissioner Kaiser, and Commissioner Hewling. And the nays were Acting Member Rushmeyer, and Chairman Donnelly voted nay without prejudice. Got that? That's how that went. And then down on, I don't know, we'll call this line 199 and 200. This should be stricken, right on line 199, where it says, but if a member, right here, is late, an alternate may sit in but must give in its seat when the member arrives. I like that stricken from the record, and the proper correction is the seated alternate remains, and I reviewed it in the video so I know it's correct. The seated alternate remains the voting member, but it would be up to the chairman's discretion on whether the regular member could speak during the closed deliberations. I did double check that in the video. And then on line 203, I say Comondy, but it says C-A-R-M-O-N-D-Y. It's K-O-M-O-N-D-Y. I'd like to correct that, please. And then the last one, this will be at the end of 208. I'd like to add in there, because I double checked it in the video, that Secretary LaForgia and Member Kaiser and seated alternate member Hewling agreed it was a good idea. This was the discussion about the ZBA training links. And that is it. So I'd like to take a motion to amend the minutes as amended, I suppose. Do we have a second?
Okay, second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. So we're gonna start with, let me pull it out here so I have it in front of me. Our first application this evening. I just wanna read it out. Okay, so our first application, which is Z-23-46, is Nejam and Sons. This is for the Brian Redenis residence, 1 Darganselo Drive. Is the applicant or proponent of the applicant here?
Okay.
Please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and tell us about your appeal in detail, sir. Come on up. Absolutely.
Do you guys collect the green cards?
I'll take it.
Right there. Welcome to the zoning board of appeals, sir.
Thank you, thanks for having me. Thanks for taking the time of your busy days.
Name and address for the record, please.
James Kelly, 7 Farview Drive, Brookfield, Connecticut.
Thank you, Ms. Keller.
So, I have 2 things to give you guys. to start. The first are letters of support
Okay, these are last minutes.
from several.
I'm gonna hand these to the secretary. These were, yeah.
One guy called
We'll read
in,
that afterwards.
but he didn't have to write a letter.
Okay, yeah, we have them, Mark. We
Oh,
have them,
well,
sir.
someone called in, he said, so maybe there's.
Oh, and there's a
more.
phone one as well?
Yeah, there's a phone.
Okay.
And then I went out there and took pictures. I'm not sure if everyone was able to go out there.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll,
Read the picture.
Oh, they're different angles?
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna go through them. I'm gonna start them down here with Commissioner Hewlin, and then we can pass them around. Okay. Thank you, sir.
So I see, two main issues. One, this property has two front yards, basically, for the setbacks. It's situated, basically,
That's Merwin Brook Road you're speaking of, and Darangelo.
yeah, essentially it's a long driveway that's classified as a road, and there's 6 neighbors that live on that D'Arcangelo road. So he has 2 front yards as far as the zoning goes. We'd like to put it on the side yard, and basically we don't think it poses any burden on anyone, doesn't change the neighborhood. It is, if you look in the photos, it's at an elevated position from the road, so it's not visible. The homeowner has also gone to quite some length in the past to plant 2 plantings, fence and everything, probably for his own privacy, but it does help in this case. The pool will not be seen from the road or by the neighbors. It also, there is, the fact that it's kind of like in a regular lot. There is two fronts to it, and there's really no place else to place the pool. There is a conservation easement in the backyard which drives the pool to either side. Can't go in the front yard, obviously. And with the location of the septic and then the reserves, there's really no place else that it could go. So based upon, there's no one opposing it, there's support by the neighbors, and the fact that, causing the 2 fronts causes kind of like a regular lot, and there's no place else to put it and still be able to maintain the reserves for the future. This area over here is driveway, and then you have the side setback and the well setback.
Okay.
So, that's basically all I have.
If you need to point anything out directly to one of the commissioners, please feel free. Yeah, we do have copies of it.
Cool. But yeah, that's basically all I have.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Reganis, would you like to say something?
I would just like to mention that it's a 2-acre lot. There's an easement in the front for a driveway easement for the front yard, conservation easement in the back, like you mentioned, and there's a stone patio in the back that, there's just not a spot for it. So just want to reiterate what he said.
Can you say your name and address for the
Yes,
record?
please.
Absolutely, thank you. Ryan Reganis, 1 D'Arcangelo Drive.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, I believe the secretary has some correspondence to read into the record.
I do. The first one is from Anthony Campanaro, sent on August 30th, writing, I received a certified letter from Nejam & Sons regarding a variance for an accessory structure in the front yard of the referenced property on September 11th. I have a prior engagement, so I'm responding by email of being 100% in favor for my neighbor, Ryan Rodenis, and his family to obtain this variance on their home. If anything else is required of me, please do not hesitate to call or email myself or call my cell if you have any questions. Again, 100% in favor of such a wonderful family. Next is Danny Gelfand, to whom it may concern. Our neighbors, I'm saying your name wrong. Rudinas family at 1 D'Arcangelo Drive are looking to put a pool in. I was told that they would need a variance because the pool is on the side of Merwin Brook Road. We live on Merwin Brook Road opposite the property and can confirm even if they put this pool in, we would not be able to even see it due to the elevation, the trees, and the fence that exists. Please take this email as support for the variance for the Rodenis family from September 1st. Finally, the last written correspondence we have is from Betsy Meyer, to whom it may concern. This was sent on September 2nd. Our neighbors, the Rodenis family at 1 D'Arcangelo Drive, are looking to pull a pool in. I was told that they would need a variance because the pool is on the side of Merwin Brook Road. We live on Merwin Brook Road opposite the property and confirm even if they put this pool in, we would not be able to see it due to the elevation, the trees, and the fence that exists. Please take this email as support for the variance for the Rosetta family. Thank you, Sean and Betsy Meyer of 2 Dark Angelo Drive. And finally, we got phone support from Stephen Conway of 53 Merwin Brook Drive.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary.
Mhm.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to ask if there's any commissioners that have any questions for the applicant.
I just would like to clarify real quick. This application is just for a pool, right? This isn't, it's listed under accessory structure 3.4 A3B, but I think this,
It's
it's actually 3.9B, it's just a clerical difference. So you're not building any building there, right? Around the pool or next to the pool, just the pool and patio? Okay, just making sure.
I did have that question. I'd like to ask the.
Mr. Chairman, I did speak with the town attorney, and she said as long as it was advertised as a legal notice in the pool, she did not foresee any issues with it, so.
Okay. Were we, let's say, for example, we approved it, should we have that 3.9 in the approval if we did happen to approve it?
We can do that, yes, but
Okay.
it's advertised legally as a pool.
Thank you.
No legal notice.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Does anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Got a couple. Go.
So, I would like to, is there room here, even though the same problem exists on the
Northwest.
northwest?
Well,
On the left of the well.
Actually, yeah, west.
yeah, the well and the side setback, which
Right.
makes it, and the driveway's there, so it just, there's no place to,
Not enough
without
room.
ripping up driveway, I guess.
You see the driveway's on the west side of my property.
Actually, when I went out there to the driveway in, his driveway is roughly, kind of comes right up in there.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple questions for you, sir. All right, is it okay if I look at your property on Google Earth?
Sure.
Okay, and I have a map. Thank you very much for allowing me to go out there. I'm just gonna ask you a couple questions, review the map that I wrote and let me know if it's okay. Come on forward, please. Okay, my laptop died. I didn't charge it up enough, but this is your home, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so where the pool is gonna go is approximately, I'm ballparking it, but right about here.
Yeah, it'll go a little farther back. It's gonna be like, yeah, right.
Okay, right with me. And then I just wanna look at it, go around the map. All right, so look at the map roughly, your driveway where you come up is here. In the south and east corner of the house, you got the septic fields, then there's the big line that comes out. I'm not sure what the pump thing is, but you got a 1,250 gallon tank that's roughly right about there.
Yeah, there's a pump chamber pump up.
Okay, that's for that. So on this side, this is the conservation easements, basically all this in here. Okay, so that's on the north side of the property. And then on the south side of the property, there's actually a driveway easement on their property as well, so that's all this area in there, okay? I noticed when I went up, and that's where the area that she was just mentioning was kind of tight in where the driveway is. My question is, what's the exact size of the pool? I did not see that on the application. Do you have that, sir?
Yeah, so it's 20 by 40, by,
It's a true L, so it's an L shape, so 20 by 40, and then it's
I
a
think
12
it's on,
by
I think it's on the
15.
agenda actually.
Yeah, it's on there.
20 by 40, and then,
There's a bump out to make it a
Yeah,
true
by
L,
32.
where the steps are.
okay, what's that second number, please?
It's only 20 by 32 by 40.
And then what's the bump out? 12 by,
Well, the bump.
Bump out usually
'Cause it's an L.
12 by 13, I believe.
12 by
Usually
13.
what it is, so it's kind of measuring.
It's an L shape, right?
Yeah.
L shape.
True L.
Okay, that was one of my questions. The other question I had was that 3.9 Bravo, which I'll just read it in the record real quick so we have it. Okay, 3.9 Bravo is basically swimming pool shall not be located in the front yard. That's what we came up with.
Yeah, so I didn't say it before, but we're maintaining the 75-foot setback, so we're not impinging on that.
Okay.
It's just the fact that it is 2 front yards, it would be in the front yard.
Okay.
So that's the only variance you're asking for?
Yeah, we're
is
not
the-
asking for a variance on the setback of 75 feet. We're going to maintain the 77 feet. It's just the fact that he has 2 front yards, so we're going into a side, really, to him, it's a side yard.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think last question, or second to last question. You had a row of, there was kind of trees and bushes and then kind of a fence. I'm gonna ballpark it in here. I don't know, the fence was somewhere around in here, but there was trees and bushes and stuff. So that is on the eastern side of the property? Are they gonna remain?
Yes,
They are.
the fence goes actually to here,
Okay, so that
to
fence,
here. To my corner, yeah, and there's trees here.
yeah, I saw that.
The trees will be removed, to put in a road, a temporary road, to get a machine in, because we can't go over the septic fields, and I will plant those back.
And they're gonna be evergreens?
No, they're not evergreens, they are, rose sharon, they're large.
Rosy Sharon, okay, very much. Thank you very much. Could you please go over, real quick, I know you went over it in the beginning, but just go over the hardships.
Yeah,
So
so.
we kind of covered them in here, but just want to hear them from you again, sir.
So, the hardships would be that there's 2 front yards, and because of the location.
Merwin Brook and Duck Angelo.
Yes, I'm sorry, Merwin Brook and DR Angelo. And then the other, it's, that would be in a regular lot, kind of. And then the other hardship is, with the location of the septic system and the well, and, leaving area for reserves, there's no place else you could put it.
And the well's on the northwestern side of the property, right there.
Yes.
And the septic fields, well, the tank's kind of on one side, and then I
Pumps
guess
up,
they
yeah.
pump it all the way over, so
So
the
you'd have
tank
to-
is on kind of the north side, and then they pump it over, and then it's the southeasty side.
Correct.
That's where the fields are. Thank you very much, sir.
Which, the second front yard is to the south or to the north?
South.
South,
Right, but so where's the first front yard then?
Merwin Brook.
On the south?
The first, he's got a south, there's a front yard on the east, which is Merwin Brook Road.
Right, and the
And
other
then-
one is on the south.
Yeah, it's, you know what, I can actually bring it up on here so you can see it, it's a little bit easier. They have, it's a road, but I'm guessing it's one way up that way and then back down the other way.
Turn
So
around.
if you look at his property, here's his house right here.
Right.
That's, I call it Dark Angelo, DR Angelo, is right here. And then there's Merwin Brook. So
Right.
it's 2 front yards.
D'Angelo a dead-end road?
It is not, no. There's a turnaround.
Well, yeah, it's
But
a,
it
it's a
doesn't go to another
cul-de-sac.
road?
No.
So it goes in and comes back out?
Yes, sir.
It's not a bypass road like Merlin Brook?
No.
Okay.
You want to say that?
Yep. And can you show me on this map where the existing driveway is currently?
And then this is the raised area, because there's a lot of attention in this area, so it's raised stone
You
walls.
can kind of see it right here.
Driveways that are here.
And D'Angelo is over here?
Yes.
Is over here?
Right there.
I'm sorry, this is actually the road right here.
Yeah, so part of my property is the road.
Yeah, if that helps you, you can feel free to use
Yeah,
it.
so here you go, if you wanna see. So here is where the well is, it's up here on this elevated area, this is all, ledge area, that's why there's this stone wall, and there's my driveway here.
Yeah, I can see it'd be difficult to put a pool over there. But this road is not as traveled as this road. The only people that are on that road are the people that are going to the houses in the back.
But there's, here you have no setbacks, and there's all ledge there. There's gonna be probably ledge here, I'm not claiming ledge is a problem, but, this is not an ideal spot for this neighborhood.
So the neighbors on the left side use that, and the neighbors on the right side use that, correct?
Yeah,
It's
It's
basically two long driveways.
it's the zoning regulation that the pool's not the front yard, that's what we're discussing.
Yeah.
Do any other members have any questions for the applicants? Thank you very much.
Very much.
Okay.
I guess the only question a little bit is, are there really technically 2 front yards since one of them is on it sounds like a private road into somebody else's property? Would that constitute a road, and then would that constitute a front yard as a consequence?
We could ask Mr. Lally a question.
I don't know.
Well, we just read the zoning regulations, right?
I mean, given that that's what their address is listed as.
Yeah, it is a road. It's a real town road.
Yeah.
Right, so,
I think after 3 houses on access, it becomes a road.
Yeah,
Mhm.
3, yeah, minimum, yeah.
Any other members have any questions for the applicant? Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone here to speak in favor of the application. Hearing none. At this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone here that would like to speak in opposition to the application. Hearing none. Any last second questions before we close the public hearing? Everybody's good? Okay. I'd like to take a motion to close the public hearing for Z-23-46 on Dark Angelo Drive, and Regina's residence.
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 2. All right, at this time, we're going to move on to application number 2, which is Z-23-49, 45 Obtuse Rock Road, Daniel Camaros residence. And that is proposed septic system and portions of a new driveway located within upland review area. Would the applicant, the proponent of the applicant, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, sir. Tell us about your application in detail.
Good evening. For the record, Dennis Rubicus, professional engineer with Martell Engineering
Welcome to the
Group.
zoning board of appeals, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Camaros, who's sitting in the back here to your right. And what Mr. Camaros is seeking to do is construct a home on this 2.7 acre parcel of land. The property sits on the south side of Obtuse Rocks Road and was previously developed with a small, kind of meandering, as much as you can meander in 1,300 square feet, stone. I'd call it a bungalow or a small home on the property. And it had a detached garage. The property itself is, I'm gonna say, level-ish along the western border of the property and in the vicinity of where our proposed home is going to go. And the driveway that accesses the property is rather steep, and it's steeply banked off down to the east, down to a wetland area. And part of the redevelopment of this property required the septic system in the home, basically all elements of the development to be located outside of the wetland and outside of the buffer area to the degree possible. And at the last wetlands meeting, the Wetlands Commission granted approval for this development. The home, as you'll note, is an L shape. Mr. Camaros would like to have a garage for larger vehicles to be stored on the property. And the home itself is basically to the one level. So the front of the home will be elevated up above the driveway as it wraps around to the back. And once the driveway hits the peak at the rear end of the property, will be level access into the garage. Setbacks in this zone, it's an R80 zone, require 50-foot side and rear setbacks, and you'll note that we have a side yard setback challenge in locating this portion of our garage. And we're trying to work within the parameters of staying away from the wetlands and staying on the upper portion of the level portion of the lot. Pushes us into this setback challenge.
Just to
Right
be
now-
Rebecca, I should have stated earlier, but you're asking of us a 19-foot
Side yard
side yard
variance,
variance.
yes.
Thank you, that was my mistake.
Yes, so,
I apologize,
no,
sir.
not a mistake at all. I was gonna get to it.
Okay, go ahead.
Saving the best for last.
Sorry.
No, so it's a 50-foot setback required, and we're about 31 feet from the side yard, so we'd be seeking a 19-foot variance to that side yard setback. And I thought, you know, why should we get something like that? And I thought, well, let's take a look at, you know, properties in the vicinity, and this is a roughly 100 scale map taken right from the GIS, and this is our parcel right here, and you can see the, you know, the wetlands delineated, but we've got a whole host of properties in and around the vicinity, and I circled in red all the instances of where setbacks or buildings or homes are set back closer than what's required. So what we're seeking is kind of not out of the ordinary for this challenging area of Brookfield, where you do have wetlands and steep slopes and certain challenges with every single property. So I'd like to say that our property is similar to everyone else, but unique in that we do have some steepness to negotiate, as well as wetlands to negotiate as well. And we would hope that the commission would see to us being able to build the home as proposed, and ask that you review favorably on our application.
Thank you very much.
Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Camaros, do you have anything you'd like to say, sir? Please state your name and address for the record.
For the application?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, Daniel Caminos, 45 Obtuse Rocks Road, Brookfield, Connecticut. So the third bay, the garage, that pushes me over that 19 feet. I'm requesting for my work truck. And I know that you prefer to see them garaged and out of sight, so that's why that third bay is there.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, do we have any last minute correspondence?
I don't believe we do.
Nothing. Okay, thank you very much. This time I'd like to ask if there's any commissioners that have any questions for the applicant, Mr.
Is it, I'm assuming, but my question is not possible, given the, I guess, the steepness of that, it should be the south side there, I gather, to push it further that way.
Yeah,
In terms of the, because you're dealing with the gradient that goes down from there.
that's correct. I mean, we tried to push it as far as we can, keeping within the confines of the existing driveway, and working the home in a position where we can actually make the level home work on the property.
Thank you. Do any other commissioners have any questions?
Just a question.
Yes, sir.
So the variance is really for the garage, not for the house, is that correct?
Correct, yeah, the garage, portion of the garage,
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure.
and it's all one structure attached, so.
Is there something above the garage?
I think it's just a tall ceiling above
That's it.
the garage, so it allows him to pull his work vehicle into the garage itself.
The application asks for proposed septic system and portions of new driveway, but doesn't mention a garage, I don't think. Is that true?
That was one
Yeah.
question. Yeah, it's a little,
The legal notice had it advertised correctly.
as,
Again,
yeah, I think
That's
if
what
we were
existence
to approve it, we have to stipulate the
stipulated,
garage.
but yeah, the legal
Okay.
notice that went in, it was legal, is
I
correct.
saw that.
All right.
Yeah.
And you're gonna keep the stone cut thing?
No, it's gone, long
Oh,
gone.
okay.
There are stairs that remain, some rock walls remain, but for the most part, there's just
I actually
memories.
saw the stone stairs while I was out there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and
It's
there's
like the
a,
only thing that's there.
and there's a retaining, or a stone retaining wall that runs along the edge of the driveway.
So you said this is for a three-car garage, was it? Is that the?
Yes.
Correct. And without the variance, what does the garage look like if the variance doesn't pass? Is that, do you lose too much space so it's a two-car garage, or do you end up scrapping the garage altogether? Like how?
So, I mean,
What's the-
it depends on how it would architecturally work. Again, the way that the property line slices through, to fit in a garage of a depth that would allow for the vehicle to park, you'd end up with, one bay.
Right. Okay.
I had a very similar, any other questions? I have a couple of questions for you, sir. Mr. Camaras, thank you very much for allowing me to go out to your property and throw a map on your property as well. Mr. Rebekis, here's my question.
Sure.
And if I could, I know you reviewed your map, and I went out there, and if you could take a peek at my map and tell me if it's fairly accurate. I put in the upland review area and the wetland area, and then I had a couple of questions for you. So this is, come up the driveway here, if there's an upland review area, and there's the wetlands, which you can kind of see, I'm sure.
No, you've hit the nail on the head here.
Yeah, off to the left-hand side as you're coming up the driveway, which would be the south and east side. I don't know, I roughly guessed, and I was gonna ask you, but it's like a 75-degree angle, it's like, almost like a cliff. You don't wanna go off the edge of the driveway there in the
No,
wintertime.
not at all, and the grading that we show in here
Mhm.
is an attempt to incorporate the grading that would be required to soften that slope to.
What do you think it is now, as it sits? Guess, you're better than me.
I'm gonna say it's 70%.
Okay. That's not okay.
Or excuse me, 70 degrees, not 70%.
70
So
degrees.
it's
Okay.
super steep.
The septic system that you're proposing here is on the.
It's
let's
on
see,
the
it's
east
north
side,
south.
southeast
Yeah, kind of
portion of the property.
southeast section of the property, so here's the septic reserve, here's the actual septic fields, and the septic tank is right there.
Correct.
So that side of the property is used. The variance you're requesting here is on the corner. Here's my math on it, and tell me if this sounds right. The garage you have, the three-car garage, is 42 by 30, that's 1,260 square feet. If I take that 42 divided by 3, and this is ballparking, it's about roughly 14 feet each garage bay. I know you got walls and stuff like that, but this is just rough. Why not, if you could, why not make it a two-car garage, like the vice chairman was speaking about, and then you'd only need approximately a 5-foot variance, because that would save roughly 14 feet. And furthermore, why not push the house to the garage about 5 feet? Okay, you see right here, we got 12 feet, where I guess the wire you're getting rid of is. I measured that out using my ruler here, and it's roughly about 12 feet. But if you push the house, so that is the kind of southeasterly, another 5 feet, you don't need any variance at all. And it still leaves you with 7 feet, and I was thinking the stone wall was staying there, but you still have 7 feet with the stone wall. That was my question to you. Why not trim that down a little bit, and then you wouldn't need any variance at all? Those two ideas.
So I'd have to confer with my client, and if I don't know, can we step out of the hall, or into the hall, just for a moment?
It was
Is
just
that
a
okay?
question. Absolutely. Anything you'd like to do, sir?
Terrific, thank you. If we can just take a couple-minute break?
Absolutely.
Is there any way I can take a look at that map real quick, boss, it's on the next door neighbor?
They would not need a variance if they did two things. One would be to
Reduce it
shift
from a
slightly.
three-car to a two-car.
Right.
That saves roughly 14 feet, and then push the house a little bit. I thought the stone wall was staying, and there's 12 feet from the stone wall there, but I guess he's getting rid of it. But if you push another 5 feet that way, just slightly shifting the house, you need 0 variance. I mean, I'm not an engineer. That's just a question I have.
Yeah, I understand.
That's it? Okay. And that's kind of what you're saying.
So they're okay with the easement?
Yeah.
No way.
So that's kind of the option.
It'd be nice to do the vehicle enclosed.
It was just a question, sir. You don't have to.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I missed the part. What are we trying to park inside in the three-car garage?
My commercial truck.
Okay.
I have a work truck.
Tall truck or?
Tall truck.
Like F-350 or something?
Yeah.
Will it fit into two cars? Two-car
In the-
garage?
No,
two
I
cars?
have I have my personal vehicles that gotta go in, so that's what the third bay is for. It's for the work truck to be concealed inside the garage. That's where this variance part is coming into play.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, rather than have, like we see everywhere else, people parking
No, I
there.
appreciate it. It was just a question, sir.
No,
It was just one.
great question, thank you.
Do any other members have any other questions for the applicant? Thank you very, very much, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
I have a question. Is there any way I could take a look at that map?
Which map? The map?
The map that he has, I just wanted to see what the house is going. Being I'm the next door neighbor. Dead.
Absolutely, sir.
So it would just be.
Please come
but-
forward, state your name and address for the
Yes,
record if
sir.
you're going to speak. Absolutely.
Sorry, boss, I didn't put you up. Hello, Mr. Camaros, how are you, boss?
I'm good, how are you?
Fantastic, thank
Name and
My name's
address.
Russell Ballard, 47 Optus Rocks Road.
Welcome to the
Brookfield,
zoning board of appeals,
Connecticut.
sir.
Thank you, I've been here many times. I'm a 51-year resident of Optus Rocks Road. My family retains from the first driveway on to Mr. Camaros' house. Currently, no, they lost. One was sold off to a neighbor. Anyway, I'm just the next door neighbor, so I just wanted to see that map. I have no issues, do whatever you want. Sorry, boss. I'm just blind. My house is right here behind us, so I just wanted to see what I was doing. Nice house, boss.
I've got this map here
Thank you.
too. Oh, was
No, I just
if you
want-
wanted to see.
That's
Pretty
gorgeous.
soon I'll ask if anybody wants to speak in favor. You're more than happy to get up there.
I'm
sir.
100% in
almost at that
favor.
point.
But I think you guys should grant them that if you don't want it to be like everybody else's house with, commercial vehicles outside on the front yard. So that's why I think it's a great idea.
At this time, do you have anything further, sir?
No, just thank you for letting us speak.
At this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the application.
Sorry, I
Please-
didn't wait, but yes, sir.
Please
Russ
state
Ballard.
your name and address for the record.
Russell Ballard, 47 Optus Rocks Road, Brookfield, Connecticut.
Yes, sir.
I'm fully in favor of giving him the variance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mel. Thank you.
You guys are welcome.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of the application? Hearing none. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to the application? Hearing none. Mr. Rebecca, you have the final closing remarks. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I thank you all for being here and listening to what we have to present, and again, we hope that you view favorably on our application. Thank you.
Mr. Camaras, would you like to say anything, sir? Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, I'd like to take a motion to close the public hearing on Z-23-49, Daniel Camaras residence, and that is 45 Optus Rocks Road.
So moved.
And have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to our third application this evening. Our third application is Z-23-50, and that's Jeremy Hansen residence, 6 Ridgeview Terrace. And this is an application for structure to left sideline. Is asking for a variance of 8 feet. Could the applicant, I'll read this in here. Reason for request. All right, could the applicant or proponent of the applicant please come forward, state your name and address for the record, sir? Tell us about your appeal.
Jeremy Hansen, 6 Ridgeview Terrace.
Welcome
here
to
in
the zoning board of appeals, sir.
Thank you for all of your time this evening and for all your dedication to the town, other evening besides this. My wife and I are seeking a variance to add a 3-car garage with living space above to accommodate our growing family. When we first moved into the home, we had 1 child, we now have 3, and we are currently short 1 bedroom at our house. And we are looking to seek that 8-foot setback in order to expand mainly the living space for our family, and also our house is a raised ranch, so storage is at an ultra premium at the moment. So we are looking to try and also increase our ability to store all of the stuff associated with this expanding family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence to read?
I know of no correspondence.
Is there anything last minute, Mr.
No,
Brown?
no, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. This time I'd like to ask, do any of the commissioners have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Rushmore.
That shed is an existing structure?
It was pre-existing when we purchased the house in 2017, yes.
And what are the dimensions of the addition?
I do have the preliminary, at least the floor plan, it should be included with the application. Forgive me, I can pull that up for you, sir.
It's tiny.
It's not terribly large, I think it's, let's see, I forget.
30,
I think that it's gonna be a 30-foot addition.
35 by...
Yeah, I got 34 by 25. Is that roughly?
I believe so, I would have to go right off of what my architect did, but
34 length of the garages and then 25 deep.
Yep, just to fit, it's not gonna go any larger than the existing footprint of the rectangle of the house that it is now.
Do any other commissioners have any questions?
Can you tell us a little bit about the hardship relating to the property itself?
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. I can tell you, if you look at the land survey, our entire front yard is essentially the septic system, and we're already up against the very back edge, essentially, of the property, with no room for expansion, and on the right side yard, we don't really have enough room to even move over that way as well.
Mr. Hanson, would it help to show it on the Google Earth?
Oh,
Point
sure,
it out
go
to the
right ahead,
commissioners?
please, absolutely.
Feel free. I think this is your house, sir.
And actually, I wanted to thank you for taking the time out of your day to
very
come out
welcome.
and visit. So yes, ma'am, as you can see, this side of the house is actually on a bit of a berm over where this tree is. Our septic system, the inspection is here, and the leaching fields are all in the front yard. And just before these trees is actually a hill, so we can't really do anything in that area.
Okay, and then I'm
No,
spatially challenged
that's
here.
okay.
Where is?
So the addition would be going out over the, so this is Ridgeview
Right there.
Terrace.
Oh, I see.
And this is and right where this shed is, the house would come out.
Okay,
The shed's
Basically,
being-
yeah, the shed would be, I would say, we could relocate the shed. But it would basically go out no further than, a little bit further than where the driveway is now.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Tom.
And your neighbors to the other side, can we see how far they are? They seem to be further up.
The Polito.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's
the
the-
Polito, yeah. Okay. So there seems to be lots of many trees out there.
Yeah, there's a row of trees as a.
Will your neighbors be able to see the house, or is it?
I mean, we
direct sight?
can still see their house through the tree, depending on the fall time, wherever. In the winter, we can see through. But yes, they would be able to see that, but I can also see, their back deck and backyard.
As it was now, when I walked up your driveway all the way to the end near the shed, I could see the house, I could see this house.
You
in
can
the
see
back.
that house clear as right through their yard, yes.
Okay,
correct.
even with the foliage that was growing in, he's got a fence there, right? It's kind of a hill up to the house, he's got a little.
Hey, there's a little, yeah, but the fence is, I think it's even further set back,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do any other members have any other
I
questions?
guess the critical question would be, in terms of the hardship, would be what the argument would be, let's say, the hardship argument for a 30-foot addition versus, say, a 22-foot addition, which would be within the setback requirements if it were 22.
That was gonna be my first question.
So we'd have to think of what would be the hardship that would merit that modification to go from 22 feet to 30 feet?
I'm gonna follow up on.
And just ask that question?
Yeah, I have the exact same question for
Wonderful.
him.
Not a
I was gonna
problem.
ask you to please explain the hardships in detail, and instead of a three-car garage, why not make it like an oversized 2 at 26 by 25, and then no variance is needed at all, which is the exact same
No,
question.
I absolutely appreciate the question, thank you. My response would be that, again, as I mentioned before, we have absolutely zero storage. There's no room to put anything like, toys, yard things, any of those sort of like, so the hardship is, again, for the additional room, but really, the secondary reason would be to put the, have not only just a place for people to sleep, but for all this stuff to go
Hardships
away.
need to be of the land, sir.
Oh, I apologize.
No, it's okay, it's fine.
So he said the leaching fields.
In the front.
The front of the house, the septic system and the leaching fields, that's
That's
a
a
hardship.
hardship.
Yeah, okay,
That is
I
something
understand.
that's- yeah,
What's
that's
in the
of
back?
land.
What's in the back? Is there a room in the back?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, I think we would be applying for a variance for anything in the backyard as well. I think we're up against the back edge of the property. I honestly don't have a good answer for a land
That's
hardship
okay.
to that.
It's just a question.
No
sir.
problem. I
Thank you
appreciate
very,
that.
very much.
You're welcome, and
Thank you, and thanks for allowing me to go out.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Appreciate it. Any other questions? Any other questions?
No,
Okay. And do we have any correspondence to read in the record?
no.
At this time, yeah, we might have a question if they're talking.
oh, absolutely.
This is the front yard. The
Right.
leaching fields are here, right?
Well, this is the front yard. So
Here's my map of it, if it helps you. So, here's his house, that's where he wants to put the addition, but out here, he's got the septic, whatever he's got left that he could possibly use as a reserve, so you can't do anything else in
Leaching
front of
fields
the
and
house.
septic is here. This is the driveway right here,
Yeah.
which is where the, yeah.
Yeah, rows of big tall pine trees, they're probably 60, 70 footers.
Yeah, yeah.
Up the left-hand side of his driveway.
I might be coming back at a future date to, if I need to take some of them down, because we've already had one at the very end of the driveway. I'm sure what you saw was actually a 1.83 branch tree, and two of those trunks.
I did have one question for you.
Yes.
Can I just show you something?
Absolutely.
Is this, can you verify it?
Yes, sir.
Right roughly behind, is that your I saw it popping out of the ground, is that your existing well?
That is the existing wellhead, yes,
So the
sir.
existing well is directly behind where you wanted to put the addition?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
Right here, right here, is that where?
It's right here. So right here's
Yeah.
that, and that's
Here.
his existing well,
Yeah.
right there.
Right on the corner, so right where you circled.
Can I ask you about
Yes,
this
ma'am.
existing shed?
Yes,
How
ma'am.
was it there when you bought?
I was
the
there when we
house?
purchased the property, yes, ma'am.
So pre-existing,
With the
I
shed.
don't know if that's
yeah.
helpful or not, but,
So the driveways don't have a setback? The driveways?
right, I think that's true. Driveways don't have a setback, right? No.
Yeah. Can I, Mr. Lally? No setback on the
No.
driveway.
Correct.
No, okay.
Any questions?
I'm good, you asked all of them. All the ones I have, you got.
At this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the application. We know you're in favor, sir. Hearing none, at this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone here that would like to speak in opposition to the application. Hearing none. Are there any last second questions before we close the public hearing? Any last second questions?
Just one quick question.
Yes,
You
sir.
were talking about living space above this garage, right?
Yes, it's essentially, the garage is secondary to what we need for the living space.
Okay, so on the picture that you included here with the garage,
Yes, sir.
is this this is what would be over the garage?
So if you look here, you can see these lighter colored walls are what is pre-existing, and then the darker colored walls are gonna be, so this is my garage currently here, under the house,
Okay.
on the first floor. So basically, this bump out here and here are these are where the garage doors exist currently, and we park here in this, the living space is only this half
Right,
of
so
the.
that's what the dotted lines are.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
I have another question too.
Yes, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any, how about your neighbors? Are there other 3 car garages in your neighborhood?
Yes, ma'am. My next door neighbor on the other side of my house.
Okay.
Which is what, number 4, Ridgeview, I believe?
This one right here?
Schaefer, Vernon Schaefer, would be that has the 3-car garage on that.
The house to the right of yours?
Yes,
Is
correct.
facing your house?
Yes,
This
correct,
house
sir.
right here?
Yep, that one, correct.
That house right there.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
You're
One
welcome.
last question.
Yes,
sir.
no, that's okay.
Your neighbors are comfortable? Have you spoken to them?
I
You've
haven't
labeled them.
spoken, no, I haven't spoken to them. We actually, it's a very quiet neighborhood and we don't really have that, interactions. I know some of the other neighborhood folks, but they're irrelevant to the land use because they're, on the other side of, Prospect Court in that area, so.
I'd like to take a motion to close the public hearing on Z-23-50.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go into closed deliberations, but it's open to public view. We discuss the applications amongst ourselves. Mr. Vice Chairman. I'd like to take a motion to approve Z-23-46, Ryan Rodinez residence, and that is for a accessory structure front yard. It's a pool, L-shaped, 20 by 40, and the bottom part of the L, I guess, is 12 by 13. Take a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a
A
second?
second?
Discussion. And Bishop Hewley, you were on this, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to go first?
For me, I think the hardships were stated well. My biggest hardship that I'm taking into account is the 2 front lots. I don't,
2 front yards.
2 front yards.
Okay,
yes.
Merwin Brook and D'Angelo.
Correct. I think the applicant did a good job of showing there's not really anywhere else that they can put this pool. That combined with the fact of most of the neighbors in favor. So I also second their sentiment. I would, if being asked currently, I would be in favor of the applicant.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
I agree.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's not really anywhere else that's feasible. The west side, you have the driveway, and I think even if you tried to squeeze it in past that, you'd be too close to the property line. Even I know there was some talk about ideally moving it over to the
Left side of the driveway, towards the
to
west
the-
side, west corner.
Yeah, to the D'Angelo front yard as opposed to the Merwin Brook, but that's the leaching fields and the driveway, so again, that doesn't really fit. So I think where it is the only reasonable place to put it, and given that it's so far from Merwin Brook and you have all the coverage, I think that it's well concealed despite being in a front yard technically.
I'm ready.
I think I agree. Besides what the other commissioners spoke about, which I agree on, it obviously has 2 front yards, the Merwin Brook Road and D'Angelo, but he's got the easement, the conservation easement on the north side of the property. He's got the driveway, or road easement on the south side of the property. The septic is in the southeastern whole side of the property, so you can't do anything there. I'm inclined to approve it, and I agree with all my fellow commissioners. You ready to vote?
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor of approving Z-23-46, one thing I'd like to ask the zoning enforcement officer, if we were to approve it, shouldn't we mention the 3.9.bravo? Okay,
Yes. Yep.
so would somebody like to put the stipulation of including 3.9.bravo on this application?
Well,
That's the
stipulation for the approval would be solely for
3.9 Bravo.
We're not approving an accessory structure,
Yeah,
so
it's not accessory
3.4
structure.
doesn't apply.
And I think it should state the exact size and dimensions of the pool.
Well, that's,
Do we have it now?
that's in the application, right?
Do you have the one 20 by 40 and then 12 by 13? Where was that?
Oh, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't
It
see
was in
it.
the agenda.
It's in the agenda, it wasn't, okay.
I don't see it on the application. Do you wanna make a
Yeah,
stipulation on that? Here's the
yeah, so-
sizes he gave me.
Make a motion to approve with the stipulation that the application is for 3.9B and the pool size of what?
20 by 40,
20 by 40
12 by 13.
and 12 by 13.
L-shape.
L-shaped pool.
Okay, do I have a second?
I said.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to our second application. I'd like to take a motion to approve Z-23-49. That is 45 obtuse rocks, Brookfield. Dan Camaros, residence, and Artel Engineering Group LLC. Mr. Rebecca's is here to speak on behalf. The variance that is asked for, I think we should say garage on here now. Would that be correct, Fran? Okay, this is really a variance for garage.
The structure to the right side, or left side.
Structure to the left side, 19 feet.
Right side.
Variant, right side? Thank you.
Right side.
Yeah, I don't have my map
Right side
open.
from the right.
Okay, right, structure to, the garage, structure to the right side, 9-foot variance request.
19.
19, thank you. Okay,
So moved.
so moved. Do I have a second? Thank you.
Whatever the
Good stuff.
starting question was.
Good second, thank you. Okay, discussion. You can't always think, well, I don't think I've done this.
I think you made some good points that if you shift the house slightly and cut down to a two-car garage, it's doable within the setbacks. So then the question just becomes if there's, I mean, the applicant has a use for a three-car garage, but if there's a need for the three-car garage as opposed to just being allowed to park a commercial vehicle on the driveway and then not need a variance, which is more of a convenience than a
The
necessity.
need for the third garage for commercial vehicle parking is not really a hardship of land.
Right.
That's what you think.
Right.
But there's a lot of hardships on this
There-
land.
Yes.
There are a lot.
Yeah,
And
this
if
is,
they're gonna build it like their neighbors, they, I don't know, I think they, because of the hardships, should get a variance.
I agree. I think the land has got too much incline and, you know, not conducive to doing much. This is the only space here. All the neighbors have a similar, yeah, so I think
That's fair, yeah.
it's fair if we, yeah.
Yeah, they
make
did
the
mention that.
If you assume that
Question
if you assume that what they're trying to create is a reasonable goal, which is the three-car garage, then I think, then the property does present a hardship in doing that. I mean, I think, like, I don't think we should be in a position of saying, well, you don't need a three-car garage any more than saying to the other people, you don't need a swimming pool. I mean,
Right.
if, in other words, if it's a reasonable request, then the question is, does the property present a hardship in fulfilling that? So I would say in this case it does. I mean, they could arguably move it, as you said, a little bit to decrease the variance required.
I think I agree with all my fellow commissioners. The only difference that I see on this, because there are hardships on the property, so I could go either way on this. There's clearly wetlands on the property, but the wetlands aren't really close to where the garage is going. They have the upland review area, but really the topography is brutal on this property. You come up the left-hand side, it's roughly 70-degree slope. He said he's gonna try to soften it, but it's a cliff. You go off of that, you're in trouble. You're right down into the wetlands. So there is hardships on the property. The septic fields, the tank and the reserve, that is on the southeastern side of the property. So you can't really do anything there. That's, I mean, I'm not a septic expert, but it looks like a great design system to me where that location is. I do have a little bit of an issue with the amount of the variance on the other side of the property there, but there are hardships. So I could go either way on that. I just think it was possible, and I know we're not in the business of telling people, okay, put a 2-car garage in versus a 3-car garage because you wouldn't need a variance at all, and push the house a little bit that way. I understand that too. So I'm torn on this, but there's clearly hardships on the property, the topography, the wetlands. The septic is more of a hardship of pushing it over that way.
Yeah, it looks like over half the property is
It's a very,
inhabitable.
yeah, I also would say unique shape of property too, just because, I could pull it back up, but if you drive by and look at the driveway, just from way out in the driveway, you can see the huge slope to the left-hand side of the driveway there. So he has a topography. I'm almost gonna say a unique shape of property because all that's lost. You cannot do anything else on this side of the property, the whole left side, which is the eastern side of the property. I'm inclined to approve. I kinda agree with you guys. So we ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All those in favor of approving Z-23-49, that's Daniel Camaros residence, 45 Obtuse Rocks, Brookfield, Connecticut, and that is for the garage, a 19-foot variance. Say aye. Aye. Congratulations, sir. And the hardships on the property, definitely the wetlands, the topography on the property, and I think also the unique shape of the property. Does that sound right to
Yes.
everybody here?
Yes.
Those are the hardships I do see in the property. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. Much appreciated.
Okay. Third application.
Congratulations, Chief. You beat me.
All right. I'd like to take a motion to approve Z-23-50. This is Jeremy and Catherine Hanson residence, 6 Ridgeview Terrace. And this is for a 8-foot variance for it's basically an addition with a garage.
Correct.
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. This is, and I can pull the house back up, it's pretty easy to look out on Google Earth and go right on the street if anybody, oh, actually, it's right there.
I think this feels, well, not the same, similar to the last one in that, well, can you technically do it by cutting back 8 feet? Maybe if you squish the house a little, but do.
The front of the property,
There's-
forget about it.
Right,
It's
there
septic.
is nowhere else to put it. And I think
It's
another
scrunched in the
yeah.
back of the house.
Yeah, I think another unique thing about this situation would be that you are, while you're adding a nonconformity in 8-foot
You're getting rid
setback,
of
you're
one.
getting rid of a nonconformity in
The
an
shed.
existing shed now being brought into conformity. So either way, there's going to be a nonconformity with the property. You're not, you're alleviating one issue at the very least, so it's more in compliant or equally in compliant as it currently is.
I want to ask Fran something real quick. That existing shed, that's a pre-existing non-conforming?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Yes, sir.
So what you're saying is you'd like to see him remove the shed?
Well, that's part
That's
of their,
part of
their application is that they're going to be moving the shed
He
to
did
the
state
other
the
side of
shed's
the
gone.
property, and it will be in compliance, where
In all
They'll-
setbacks.
Yeah, they'll move it within the setbacks when they add the addition. So while we're giving them a variance and
The 8
that'll
feet.
no longer be in conformity, we will fix a nonconformity with the property at the same time, which I think
Would we have to
helps.
stipulate that? I know he said it, but would we have to stipulate that if we approved it?
No, because it's pre-existing non-conformity.
Okay, so,
Unless the shed's gonna be in the way of his expansion of his home.
that's what he said. I think that's what he
If
said.
the owner wants to move
He
it,
was
by all
removing
means,
it.
that's to bring it in conformity, but we can't make him do it.
Okay. How do you feel?
I agree with all that has been said.
Me too, I agree.
Everybody ready to vote?
Yes.
There you go. I concur. I concur. Mr. Rushmeyer, anything else? Okay. All those in favor of approving Z-23-5050, Jeremy and Catherine Hanson, residents, 6 Ridgeview Terrace, and this is for a Article 3.5, 8-foot variance to the left side, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that is unanimous. And the hardships on the property, obviously the septic, the reserve.
Yeah, that's the big one, I think.
Yes.
Septic and the reserve out front.
Mhm.
Okay, septic and the septic reserve. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir, congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your help.
Where's my
Have a
chunk?
good evening, everybody.
Oh, did I take that?
No, I buried it. Thank you. I got it somewhere. Okay. Old business. Amendments to ZBA bylaws reviewed by all members. Did you watch the last meeting?
I did not.
We-
I read the minutes though, so, yeah.
Okay, we fixed we had a group that we just overlooked where the terms of office, it said 6 years for ZBA members, it should have said 4. And it said like first Monday in October, we changed it to Tuesday in November.
Yeah, again, things from the 70s or whenever they were.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
left over there, we didn't look at it, and we
Yeah.
just concentrated on all the tough stuff.
Simple enough.
The only thing I do not know, which I'd like to ask our acting secretary if she'll find out, maybe the other secretary, is if they actually updated on the website. I don't.
Who do
When I looked at it
call
on the
for that?
weekend, I would say Amy and land use.
Janet.
Who?
Janet? I
Yeah,
will
Ja-
not go
yeah.
around Janet.
Yeah, bug Janet. Bug Janet,
I'm involving Janet
yes,
in all the conversations.
yes, definitely, yes. Miss LaFortune, okay.
Yes.
Okay, next, new business, we don't have any, there's no tabled items. Informal discussion, this is a follow-up, and I believe that our secretary, Commissioner Temple, has a training session for us.
As I was requested by,
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, hold on, I skipped over something. Follow up on the ZBA training links, it's on there, it's on the website. The training links we spoke about a couple minutes ago, we put them up, and it's awesome. I believe our first training session is from Commissioner Temple.
well-enforced training session.
It's on there, there may be another one on there,
Okay.
maybe one more next one. Okay. So moving on, Commissioner training discussion led by Commissioner Lisa Temple, Comity versus Zoning Board of Appeals, the town of Chester.
Also noting that the Jets game starts in 2 minutes.
Ah,
So,
Jets
I don't
fan.
know if it's actually gonna start on time, because there was a shelter in place because
oh,
of lighting.
okay.
Wow.
I'll
so
still
you-
talk fast.
So you have plenty of
I
time.
love it.
It's actually kind of a colorful case, the facts of which are not really relevant to why we want to look at it, but a woman named Marguerite Comedy, her house unfortunately burned down, and so she got a variance to construct a mobile home on her lot while the house was being rebuilt, and that variance was only granted for 6 months. She stayed for a long time. She stayed for like almost a year and a half. And I'm sure the neighbors were not pleased. And so the zoning enforcement officer wrote her a cease and desist, and then she went and argued it in front of the zoning board of appeals, and the zoning board of appeals upheld her the cease and desist, and they denied her appeal for a variance. So she appealed again to the Superior Court, which again upheld the board's decision. And so, what was really part of her argument on the appeal, however, was that as part of, when she went in front of the ZBA, there was Teresa Myers, who's the unseated alternate, was part of the discussion. And Marguerite Comedy argued that because Ms. Myers participated so actively, it was improper, and the denial of the variance was therefore incorrect, or she prejudiced the whole thing. So the court considered this, and the reason why Mr. Donnelly wanted me to talk about it, because we had been in discussions for the last few months about the propriety of alternates sitting on, what part of this discussion, is it the public part or the closed deliberations? And so that's exactly what the court looked at, and they, after looking at the statute and the legislative intent, and of course, this thing isn't litigated very often, so they kind of had to, I guess, get a little creative, but I'm sure we're somewhat familiar with the fact that designated alternates are empowered to act under Section 8.5 by the chair and the chairman. And so once you're designated, it's as if you are another elected official. And so the question is, if you're not seated at the moment during the deliberations, and you talk, what happens? Is that proper? So the court said it is proper for basically, I don't want to say anyone, all people, the alternates, to talk during the public deliberations and share their views and opinions. But once you go into closed deliberations, then it's improper for the seated alternates to interject. And I don't like that outcome, because I've been an alternate, and I respect and want to hear all opinions, especially of these members who have the experience and good logic and common sense to contribute. But unfortunately, the court said yes, it was inappropriate for Ms. Myers to participate. However, they actually still upheld the case, because the ruling of the ZBA, because Ms. Myers did not really terribly influence the outcome. She did participate, but it didn't rise to a profound effect. I don't know how you would measure that, but basically they also said, and I think this was super helpful to the court, is that the plaintiff didn't challenge the court's determination that there was no unusual hardship for the variance, and so the quality of the variance still stood despite the fact that Ms. Myers participated. So I guess, what's our takeaway? Alternates shouldn't technically be involved in the discussion, and if they are, it would be really hard to, we just don't want to get into into any court battles, litigation about this, but it would also be hard for someone who's appealing a ZBA ruling on this basis as well. They'd really have to prove a high.
As a practical matter, you're right, but I think the court misunderstood the language, and because they made a big thing of the distinction between determining, deciding, and voting. But I think it's a logical error, because this determining and deciding, how you determine and decide, the method by which you determine and decide is you vote. So So determining and deciding is simply to say voting, in effect. I mean, they make a distinction, but it doesn't say anything about offering an opinion. And there's nothing in the legislation that prevents an alternate from having an opinion or offering it, because you're not determining or deciding, even in closed session. So I think they misunderstood it and came to an incorrect ruling, but as a practical matter, you can't change that, so.
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that, but I have a question for you, Commissioner.
yeah.
So, as I understand it, in a few different court cases I've read versus ZBA and zoning boards in the state of Connecticut, but courts usually have a deference to local ZBAs, zoning board of appeals, or zoning boards, because we live in the community and stuff, so they have a deference towards us. And in this case, even though, and I actually got us a copy of the minutes from them, both the minutes from Chester on it. In the minutes, it must have been something in the court case, a witness or something must have came forward, but I don't see where they're talking about that the alternate member, Mrs. Myers, spoke out like up to 27 times, 27 separate statements is what they said in it. But I don't see that in the minutes. So I was wondering, I'm guessing they have that, it's somewhere else. It must be a witness that came to court
Probably, yeah.
or something.
The audio, or
Yeah.
the audio
I'd be
recording.
curious of that. But I
Yeah, I
think,
think it was audio because they said in here there was a bunch of times that it said unknown.
They couldn't
So
make
I'm
Unknown.
sure
sure
who
they
was
couldn't make
speaking.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was an audio
So there
recording.
was some, that's how, I
They-
think there was just audio. There was
they just
no
counted
video.
that as Miss Myers went down.
Mr. Chairman, could you
Yes.
excuse me, I have a call, if
Yes.
you don't mind.
Thank you very much. Your excuse.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So anyways, what, I'd like to think about this and talk about it a little bit more, because I spoke to past chairmans, okay, going back like 15 years, and they always had alternates, spoke, no problem at all, anytime whatsoever, was always helpful and never, ever had a problem. One thing that I was gonna run by, and I guess there's something called informed consent, maybe you can explain that to me a little bit better. But there was an idea that I had that if a certain circumstance, this might be a circumstance kind of like swearing somebody in, very, very, very rare. But if you watched the last meeting, when we were discussing this, anyways, I was just lucky that Commissioner Rushmeyer was in. He made up a good point in one of the applications that I was able to follow up because he was still on it. But if he wasn't on that, it was a point that he brought up. But if he wasn't on that, I wouldn't have been able to follow up on it. But it's a rare circumstance. So anyways, getting back to informed consent. I had an idea, and we could probably talk to the town attorney on it or something, but in a rare circumstance, I'm talking a rare circumstance, where something came up, then an alternate brought something, asked a question or something like that, and we didn't follow up at that particular time. Is it possible, and I don't know the answer to it, you'll have to explain informed consent to me, but if a circumstance like that came up and we asked the applicant or the chairman at his discretion, asked the applicant, hey, would it be okay if I followed up on a question from an alternate commissioner? Yay, nay, whatever, it doesn't make a difference if they say yes or no. But technically, would that be conformed?
I think it would be
consent?
helpful to the ZBA's case, but I don't think that it would be a slam dunk by any stretch, especially because you're asking someone to consent before they even know what's going to be said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're asking to follow up, well, you're asking to follow up on a question that was already put out there, so they've heard the question before.
But who are
So
you asking?
I have a
The
question.
the applicant, I'm just thinking a way that you
Because we're
could
closed.
technically ask a question
We're
that's
already
illegal.
closed though.
That's true.
Because if you could ask the applicant, then you could ask an unseated member. If it's a
Mm.
closed session, we can't ask.
I
the
wasn't
question.
sure about it, yeah, I know, that's
And
why I
I-
asked.
I would, if I may, I think this is something that every board faces. It's not just the zoning board of appeals.
Mhm.
Every board has 5 members that go into closed deliberations, and
Yeah.
it could be a mix of alternate and regular members, but the 5 members that go into closed session are the ones that are, talking and sharing.
Deliberating.
And deliberating,
No, I
yes.
got you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not just us, it's everybody, every board.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think we,
Other than
in my
changing,
opinion.
no, you're right, other than changing the law itself or having another case come up and making the other law moot, I just think it's it doesn't help to lose that expertise. I hate to lose that
That
expertise.
is open to us in the public hearing.
Yeah, I know.
So.
I mean, it's, as I say, I think the court opinion is just incorrect in terms of reading the statute, because if you, I mean, and it doesn't say anything about the chairman asking someone's opinion about something.
An expert opinion.
I mean, that's because the specific language is determine and decide. You're not, the unseated member cannot participate in a process of determining and deciding. Doesn't mean, though,
Right, they're not
you
voting.
can't say, what do you think, or gee, you had a thought in the open section of the meeting, can you say more about that?
I agree.
Because you can seek information, or, I mean, the closed nature of it only means that the people attending can't participate, but it doesn't mean that you, as the chairman, can't seek information or ask for thoughts from somebody. I don't see anything that precludes
What are your
that.
thoughts on
Well,
this?
I think that gets back to the previous thing that Elijah mentioned. If you can seek information and ask people questions, then you can ask members of the public questions.
Well, you could, I
But
mean, there's nothing to prevent him
No,
from doing that.
And you can only ask from experts from the staff, that would be the only
Yes,
person.
the staff or
You-
the
you
town attorney.
can't.
I think
So-
the-
And I think
the-
it's best for the ZBA is to not bring us to another point to where we may get ourselves in trouble.
We
at some
don't
point.
No, I understand that, I understand that.
So-
It's just a doggone shame, and it bugs me, and I've
I
talked
think
to
the-
chairmans going back 15 years and never had a single problem.
But I think the comparison that the court made was a good one, in where they said it's similar to alternates on a jury who
Mm.
are not allowed to deliberate with the jury. Not only do they not get a vote, but they're left in a separate room, and you're not allowed to share their opinions on the case. Either it's a similar situation where alternate jurors, despite not being allowed to decide, also aren't allowed to discuss.
I also think now, I think the court was very clear, in their opinion, that, they said they emphasize the participation of an unseated alternate in the board's deliberations is not to be condoned. I mean, that's not.
Not to be
that's not
condoned.
even ambiguous.
But it didn't reverse the ZBA's decision.
But they only
Well,
just,
they said they didn't, but then, the problem then is that the court was essentially acting as a ZBA, so they said the applicant did not have enough of a hardship for us to overturn. And since she didn't, then we're going to stick with the ZBA rule.
yeah, they basically said the reason they didn't overturn it was because
She didn't have a
she
hardship.
didn't do anything to
Essentially
change.
just doing our job.
Yeah,
Right.
if she had risen to the occasion to convince other members to change their votes, then the court might have found differently. But
Right.
the specific reason they allowed it to proceed was because the applicant hadn't done anything, or not the applicant, the alternate didn't do anything that wouldn't have already happened had she not said anything at all. So in that case, there's still no reason to.
No, I agree.
If alternates are allowed to speak and change vote and do so well enough to change votes, then that's
Influence
too
other
far.
commissioners,
That's
what
too
you don't
far.
want to do.
I'd like
Also,
to,
There's no point.
Also, now we have the case law, we've discussed it, so if we then, after all this, we said, you know what, we're just gonna make this one exception, you just go ahead and
I know.
speak, then I think it's, a lot worse than, 10, 15, 5, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
when we were just like, oh, we didn't know we were doing anything wrong. Now we
Right,
know.
so now we know,
we're
we
doing
should
something
not
wrong.
do it.
Right, exactly.
In a way, it's a silly distinction, because, if you speak in the open part of the hearing, then
You're swaying,
you know what the
yeah.
person's opinion is, right?
mhm.
So arbitrarily to say, okay, now it's closed, and now you can't speak. I mean, I can say whatever I want to say, or need to, or maybe relevant in the open part of the hearing.
yeah.
So it's not like, that's the way in which the court comparison breaks down.
Right.
Because you don't
That's
have that, in
That's true. An
a
alternate could be
jury.
very,
Well,
an alternate could be very
Yeah, I-
persuasive during public hearing,
Yeah,
and that's
right.
okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd like to read, if I could, just a second, I'll be really fast, the summary of the Comey case into the record. So in comity, our appellate court explained that the proper measure to evaluate the participation of an unseated alternate in a board's deliberations is an inquiry into whether the participation resulted in a material prejudice to the applicant. Among the factors relevant to the inquiry is the determination of whether the participation impacted the board's decision-making process. Also relevant, I found this interesting, is the frequency and severity of the unseated alternate's participation. Though not dispositive, a finding that the alternate's participation was minimal mitigates against the finding of material prejudice. Okay, just wanted to read that in the record.
Still good law.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, are we ready? Mr.
Yes.
Chairman,
Motion to close.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor to
Aye.
adjourn, say aye. Aye.
Aye.